Hello, hello, hello. Yes, it's a little different. This is Miss Lady CC with Leaders in Purpose Media. Leaders in Purpose. And yes, we are recording a live show from a different place. We're not at KPAO today, but thank God they did allow us to use their equipment. We are at my place of residence. Today we're going to be talking with Mr. Eliga Ali, and as you know, he is the creator and owner of NFHR.info, where he deals with us as a people on a dimensional level, including health, education, culture development, human rights, human services, economic development, and political education. He's using these topics to get us to know that we need to take care of ourselves in a dimensional level instead of just looking through one eye. And he's been all over, I'm sure, at the different colleges, on different sectors here in Omaha, different groups speaking about these same areas. And so today we're going to talk to him and perhaps ask him what topic is he going to deal with today. Is it just going to be a plethora of variety of topics today?
Well, as you identified, the 7 areas that we specialize in are the areas that we recognize control our existence. And I think, particularly during this pandemic area, if that's what they want to call it, and particularly people of color, particularly those of a darker hue, are experiencing a lot more difficulties than other people. And it's even stated through their medical systems that the pre-existing issues that we have generally emanating out of slavery in this country is causing for most of our difficulties. So the things that we've been talking about through the universal order of things have manifested themselves, and we're getting responses from people that are beginning to understand what we've been talking about over these years.
Yes, you said you're getting responses from people who understand what you've been talking about over these years. First of all, what have you been talking about over these years specifically, and what kind of responses are you getting as of today, or a certain period of time you're talking about?
The genocidal treatment that descendants of slaves, and then the descendants of slaves in this country have experienced have always kept us in an ill, both physically and mentally. A lot of it, post-traumatic slavery disorder, is mental, but those mental conditions, if not taken care of or recognized, begin to affect your your physical conditioning. If you're not thinking straight and you're confused and you're nervous, those kinds of things affect you in your eating habits, your digestive system, your blood pressure, all of those kinds of things. So how we are treated regularly in this country over the span of time that we've been in it causes for us to be much more affected by any kind of disorder if it has anything to do with the atmosphere and nature and those kinds of issues.
Okay, so if I can recap what you're saying is the effect of these horrific laws, these horrific injustice against us, have caused us as a people to come to a place where our actions have become probably detrimental to ourselves and each other.
Oh, most definitely. One of our biggest issues are addictions, whether they're authorized by a therapist or a physician, or we medicate ourselves on our own through alcohol and substance abuse. So most definitely we are not well at all, and anytime that anything additional comes on us, we're compounded much more severely than other populations.
And that is so true. When it comes to, you also talked about those who are affected. Not those are affected, but did you say there are those who are helping you in this cause, or
They're help.
are helping you?
Well, no. Well, People are beginning to have, for no more other reason than the time to respond, because by being confined to your home and your communication levels being restricted to certain methodology, we've been getting more responses from our internet activity, particularly Facebook activity. Because of that, we've been able to go into certain other meetings that they've been holding through the internet system, and just observe and listening. For an example, the organization that handles most of the juvenile justice issues that we have is called RED now, Racial and Ethnic Disparities. It started off as DMC, Disproportionate Minority Contact, but the term disproportionate minority contact made it sound like the service organizations, i.e. European power bases, are doing this specifically. So they changed it from disproportionate minority contact to race and ethnicity disparities, which I think was an extreme cop-out. We've met with them, and in that meeting just here in the past week, they've acknowledged that the shot fires in the North Omaha area have increased 147%. In other words, they have these machines that if a shot is fired in the area, the radar will identify within 20 feet where that shot came from. And here again, in the last...
How many, what'd you say now? Repeat what you said. You said there's been how many shots fired?
There's been a 127% increase in the shot fires within the last 3 weeks.
In what areas?
North Omaha.
And what areas is considered North Omaha?
Cummings to, we'll say, Reddick. Actually, it's 72nd, but I usually say, well, actually it's 90th, but I say 72nd. 72nd to the river. 72nd to the river, Cummings to Reddick. And even in that interview, the officer spoke that they're getting more shots even up further in the Florence area. That would put it up on up around Menalusa. So from Reddick, you can almost expand that northern boundary to Menalusa now.
Wow.
And in the meeting, the thing that really disturbed me is after he made this report, there was no change in their tone. Everyone in the meeting, except for myself, are individuals that either are employed directly by the county or have contracts that are implemented by the county. And their attitude is always geared towards how that is affecting their work, not affecting their community, of which majority of them drive out of our community when they get off work and live in an atmosphere that they think is better because they're not living around black folks, even though they are black folks. That to me is genocidal, and it's self-destructive. It's us as a people, you know, the old concept of house and field slaves. That piece is so much in position right now that it's aggravating, and so I'm thankful that the meetings are held that way because it could cause other kinds of disruptions. My reactions to the meeting that they had on the internet system caused for them to have a special meeting that we had, and there were 6 of us. And here again, 5 out of the 6, including myself, were employed by the system, either directly or indirectly. And when confronted with these disproportionate numbers and these other kinds of things that show that there are traditional ills in our community, not only the thing that we're going through right now, there's no understanding that these things cause us issues ongoing anyway. The number of liquor stores we have in our community are atrocious. The amount of drugs that are disseminated in our community, even though the other communities do it also, are more identified and also more tampered with than other communities. So I call it genocide. It's genocide. We are being destroyed externally and internally.
Barbarism in the name of science. This is ongoing. J. Marion Sims was a physician in the mid-1800s who is credited with the creation of the first vaginal speculum. Sims built a makeshift hospital in his backyard where he conducted surgical experiments on countless anesthetized African slave women. Sims reasoned that slave women were able to bear great pain because their race, quote unquote, you can't unquote a quote, made them more durable, and thus they were well suited for painful medical experimentations. When is it going to stop? Or is it going to stop? Right now as we speak, the powers that be are speaking about population control. 1 to 2 billion people. Too many. I had the opportunity to be approached, and I don't know if they're the real ones or not, by somebody who said that they represented the Illuminati. And they asked me did I want to join. And I asked them, of course I'm going to say, well, I think everybody heard all the same things that I've heard about the Illuminati. What have you heard about them?
They are a secret organization that historically has used drugs and entertainment to control the economics of that particular community of folks. And the entertainment fields, and have gotten into the place where they are dictating a lot of the audio and visual information that we get that is detrimental to us.
So when the gentleman dropped the website on me, and I went inside the website, I didn't see any of that. But that's what I was heard. And what I saw was an organization of billionaires banding together to promote lifelong charitable giving to different organizations. And I think that's very charitable, and I think that's wonderful. Because if I was a billionaire, I would want to do that too with other billionaires, because we can learn from each other. But my question is, who's on the list to get the money, and how do you get on the list? That's my question. And then too, when I went and I looked at the Illuminati philosophy, it seems that they want to have where everybody is wealthy, or everybody is rich, quote unquote, rich or wealthy, and there's no poor people at all. And so I think I looked at that and I wonder, well, how will we get to that point in the quote-unquote New World Order? How will we get to that point? Do you kill off all the poor people and then build an economy where that strengthens the middle class and it keeps the rich, the millionaires and billionaires? Or do you have a economy where you help the poor, teach the poor to be self-sufficient, thus everybody's rising together? So it depends where how you're going to fix that. And so the main players that I'm seeing right now in this game of population control as well as vaccination, Bill Gates had stopped everything that he was going to do to give towards the vaccination and the curing of COVID-19, as well as helping our Earth be the best that it can be, population-wise.
Well, the concept sounds from the surface that it's a good idea, but when you look at the functioning of it and what it has to do to operate, you realize that labor itself is being so affected by technology that masses of people are being put out of jobs on a daily basis. The technology will do that. In any kind of system of capitalism, it's predicated on profit and loss, a have and a have lot. You can't have a profit unless there's a loss. Somebody has to be getting more for what's being done than is equitable, which means that those who are also involved in the activity somehow are getting less. They've gone through that piece, and that's why we had unions on this over the years. People had to come together as a group and try to force the owners of the business to be more fair in the dissemination of the wealth that the product was producing. That's why you had unions. Those unions after World War II were very effective, particularly for people of color. Men coming out of the service, families coming up out of the South and doing the other kind of things. They went into the large factories, warehouses, corporations, and were able to benefit from that based upon union and the population that was doing the labor.
So now, how were unions beneficial for blacks?
By the time that blacks began to get into the area, specifically more during the World War II, because there were so many men that were being put into the service, particularly those who couldn't go into the service, and women began to work in factories and do that kind of work. That's what opened up the industries in the North much more. So when the war was over and people came back, those things were already open, and so there were more that would go into these larger corporations, and the unions, which is made up of the same people, would say, if you don't let all of us work, then none of us will work.
Okay, so the union for action.
The union was a force and a pressure.
To help people
now
keep
with
their
technology,
jobs. Be fair, to help people be fair.
Be fair.
There you go.
Technology takes all the fairness out of it because they have a machine, and they don't have to do nothing fair to a machine except keep it oiled. And that's where we're at now. Here in Omaha, Nebraska, one of the major corporations is just almost totally turning over all of their labor to computers, and that's UP, Union Pacific. The trains that run right now have no engineer. They're all ran by computers. The tracks are switched.
UP just got through laying off.
Oh yeah, they still laying off. Yeah, they're laying off ongoingly.
Yeah.
And that's all and talking to the individuals that are in the computer place, they saying it's because of the computerization. They're getting jobs right and left. But when that's done, only thing they'll need able to keep is the programmers and the owners of the computers. Buying computers and programming them is all they'll need, and everything else, all the other kind of manpowers will be done by computers.
And can I please interject this before I forget? When you're also talking about computers, our President Trump, he had said something about the COVID-19 UV light and disinfectant, and but what they're doing. He had said using that as a had said using that as a way to cure, which it is not a cure. But what they are using the UV red light and the robots for, as well as the disinfectant for, is they've put those two in a robot. And after people leave the hospital room or the hotel room or whatever room, those robots come in and they disinfect, and they get everything of the leftover of the COVID-19 out. And so that's how they're using the UV light and the disinfectant. So go ahead.
Well, no, the genocide to us is so embodied in the methodology of America that our community has to realize that it has to become self-sustaining, independent, and supportive of its own. Other nations that come to this country to so-called enjoy the American dream, they bring their culture with them and they embody themselves in that culture, and then they produce within that culture, and that takes care of that.
Go ahead.
The process, as long as they keep coming and doing that, it takes our community and sets it further and further and further back, because we don't produce anything. The only thing that we're noted for is entertainment and sports. The economic fall through, the number of athletes as applies to the number of those who want to be athletes are so disproportionate. It's unreal. You know, you've got millions of young black males that seek to be a football player or a basketball player, baseball player. But when it all comes out to out, only maybe 10 out of 1,000, and that number is probably too high, are able to take any advantage of that. You may be able to go to school, but here again, if you're not academically strong, you're not even going to get involved in that collegiate type of activity. You have to be extraordinary in college in order to get into any kind of pro rank. On entertainment, entertainment's lives are short and quick because of just the novelty of seeing somebody. People want to see people new. They don't want to see the same ones. Music industry, our music has been so diluted. The concept of rhythm and blues is not even halfway even on the charts anymore. So all the things that we have so-called helped developed or produce or utilized in this country have all been just dissolved, and we're in a culturalist society. We've not been able to develop any other culture of our own inside the society other than a culture of poverty.
Okay, is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
As far as I'm concerned, not really, because you have to be more brainwashed to perpetuate a system than to be a victim of it. Those of us who have acquired whatever academic or social whatever, and even work in the areas that so-called aid us in our life's journey, they won't do the things necessary to alter our situation because they don't want to lose their paycheck. Those are some things I'm going through right now. There's organizations in our community that have the responsibility of caring for us and looking out of us. Health and Human Services, NAACPs, urban leagues, some of the O and GOKAs and all those are not in existence, but there's organizations inside of those facilities that they have that are supposed to be doing the same kind of things, and they're not. They're not even anywhere close to dealing with the issues. Like I'm saying, in the conversation I'm having, just within a 3-week period of time during this pandemic, the shot fires in our community have increased to 142%. That's atrocious. We're averaging about 3 deaths a day in Omaha, Nebraska, because of non-committal kinds of things, just people dealing with people and trying to get things right.
And that right there is very, very sad. He literally said we're averaging 3 deaths a day. That's somebody's mom, dad, father, sister, aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, and nephew. 3 deaths a day. Yes. My melanated brothers and sisters, we are the answer that we're looking for each other. We've been here for over 400 years, and over 400 years we have looked for another culture to hand us to fix our problems and to fix our issues. We as a people have everything that we need for life and godliness. That's whether you read a Holy Bible or Quran or whatever you read. We have it within us to make this work, as well as our outside common sense and smarts. And to me, that is doing what we did before. Some good place to start is reading Claude Anderson, ED.D, Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America. Also, Black Labor, White Wealth with Dr. Claude Anderson. Post-traumatic slave syndrome, and it's to understand. It gets you understand the what's it called, Woolly Lynch syndrome, and perhaps maybe we could see how perhaps others are, or even ourselves, may be going through some of the same hurt and pain that we've been going through generationally, and maybe need to deal with it a different way. And then this book is good as well, Sacred Woman. And then this book is great, When God Was a Woman. And well, to the answer to this, I believe, is a changing of the guards. And when I say changing of the guards, I mean a post-colonial patriarchal system is not going to even begin to look at another way to handle issues than what it's doing right now. And that's death, murder, kill, torture, pain. When you have a system that all it does is look to death, murder, kill, torture, pain, the people inside of that system, which is us, we tend to be reactionary more than actionary, and we tend to live in a survival state of operation of Morandi, other than a prosperous operation of Morandi. And that's where where we're looking to get our people back to. And to me, the only way to do that, especially since this system was built off of a post-colonial patriarchal society that was unjust in the first place. When you have a religious system and a political system say it's okay to use another person's baby as children as crocodile bait, something is wrong with that system. When you have a judicial system and a church system and people in that system to say that it's okay to use as a system death, murder, kill, torture, pain as an operation of Morandi to control people, then yes, we need to look at a different system. Peace, power, blessings, and prosperity. We love you. Bye-bye.